Reforming climate change isn't just about bringing awareness to the problem, but also the steps needed to help lessen the carbon emissions going into the atmosphere. The purpose isn't to make anyone feel bad, but to inform that there are ways that the government can help, and on a personal level, so can we. By the end of this speech, the audience will have a better understanding on how to fight climate change. What are three different ways we can help devolve climate change? In 2016 alone, the temperatures for all 12 months were the highest they've ever been. According to an article by NASA, as time goes on, people are learning that ignorance isn't always bliss. When individuals are watching their favorite animals die on TV because ice sheets are melting, or birds are migrating earlier and earlier, or how about the fact we're destroying the ocean and raising acidity so much, sharks have decided to swim with us at the beach now. Raising awareness is so important to the conservation of where all living things reside. Just because if we ruin this planet, where's the technology that's going to bring us to another one? I propose that climate change could almost be eliminated through bumping up the price on carbon fuels such as coal and oil and transitioning to renewable energy such as nuclear electricity, gas, or water, and planting trees. The first step entails raising carbon prices. Coal will be more expensive than gas as a fuel for electricity generation, so both consumers and producers will adjust their behavior in response to the change in the relative prices of high and low carbon goods. This means people will be forced to pick a side, and if carbon prices are up, people will most likely go for the cheaper option, saving the planet in the meantime. Another addition to carbon pricing would be to also tax the people who continue using carbon, making the prices even steeper. The same article explains these cases illustrate a general policy recommendation. Fix the quantity when the slope of the damage function is steep relative to that of the cost of function. This means when there's too much carbon leaking into the air or the water and is costing more in damage rather than the cost to use fossil fuels, it's imperative to eliminate the damage, and the city can do that by taxing individuals or companies. Just like with a child, you have to punish them sometimes so they understand there's consequences for their actions. Raising taxes along with the prices of carbon will teach people and companies that it isn't a game and it's serious. It's also a deterrent to avoid the mistakes we've made and continue to make when it comes to global warming. Renewable energy like nuclear power would not only be cost efficient but more reliable than fossil fuels. Per unit of energy consumed, electricity generated from natural gas products about half the carbon emissions of electricity generated from coal. Electricity generated in nuclear reactors produces, for all practical purposes, no carbon emissions. Roughly a third of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, if all that coal-fired electricity were replaced by nuclear electricity, the immediate effect would be to reduce U.S. carbon emissions by a third. This means nuclear energy is 2 times safer for the environment than natural gas or coal. That would unveil an unprecedented change for the entirety of the world and hopefully open new doors for companies to save energy. Lastly, by planting trees, we would decrease climate change by allowing trees to breathe in the extra carbon. But in order to do that, you have to plant multiple trees all over the world. Planting trees is a way to get the average Joe to help and feel involved. Researchers found that the planet has nearly 3.5 million square miles to spare for trees. Such newly planted trees could cut carbon in the atmosphere by nearly 25%, bringing it down to the levels not seen for nearly 100 years. This shows that trees would not only help to eliminate fossil fuels in the atmosphere, but it secures a better environment not only for us, but future generations to come. If we don't start eradicating climate change, our families and lives in the future could be affected. There's a valid chance the world will be covered in water and desert, and the only things living will be 1,000-year-old amoebas. Think about 200 years in the future. How do we want our grandbabies living? Cleaning up our mess with little resources? With the help of renewable energy plants and carbon pricing, we can start achieving little goals to get the big end goal. Building a path to a better, more sustainable future. How would you like to see climate changed?